Last night, more targets in Ukraine came under Russian fire. One of the missiles fell on Kramatorsk in the Donetsk Oblast, 20 kilometers from the nearest front line. At around 4 a.m. we heard two powerful explosions. We live in the city centre, and these outbursts woke us up. It scares us a lot, but everyone is still doing their job, so we stay in the city and we can't leave now. The missiles also hit civilian targets in the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast in the southeastern part of Ukraine. President Zelensky appealed to the inhabitants of the occupied territories to inform the authorities about enemy forces and people who were helping the Russians. He also stressed that the territories currently occupied would be liberated. A question that plagues absolutely everyone: when will the war end? But this question actually depends directly on the losses of Russia. The greater the losses suffered by the occupier, the sooner we will be able to liberate our country and guarantee security for Ukraine. If the nearly 43,000 dead Russian soldiers do not convince the Russian command that it was necessary to seek a way out of the war, then more fighting and deaths will be needed to convince them. Enemy forces attack dozens of civilian and military targets each day to establish full control in the Luhansk and Donetsk regions. The enemy mobilizes all its forces to maintain control in the Luhansk and Donetsk oblasts, to take over the temporarily occupied Kherson and parts of Mykolaiv, Kharkiv and Zaporizhia oblasts, and to create favourable conditions for the resumption of the attack in various directions and blocking transport in the Black Sea. The threat of missile attacks on military and critical infrastructure facilities in Ukraine is still real. The Russians, however, cannot feel unpunished. Tonight, explosions were also observed at the Belarusian military airport from which the Russians attacked Ukraine. It is not known, however, whether the explosions were related to the military exercises of the Russian and Belarusian armies. At least 8 explosions in the Homiel region near the border with Ukraine. According to witnesses, the explosions took place near the Ziabrauka airfield. Russian military aircraft are often stationed there. A fire broke out in barracks in the suburbs of Moscow. The fire spread over an area of 1,000 square meters. The buildings housed conscripts and soldiers from the 4th Brigade of Air Defence Troops, who were all evacuated. Since the 24th of February, the occupiers have deported up to 1.5 million Ukrainian citizens who need consular assistance to Russia. The government in Kiev has not maintained diplomatic relations with Russia since the first day of the war. Ukraine has asked Switzerland to represent it in Russia throughout its network of diplomatic missions. Bern would also represent Moscow's interests in Ukraine. The Kremlin strongly rejects this possibility. Unfortunately, Switzerland has lost its status of a neutral state and cannot act as a mediator or representative of our interests. It is known that Bern acceded to the illegal sanctions of the West against Russia. It supports the anti-national Nazi regime in Kiev and participates in an aggressive Russophobic campaign organised by the West and Ukraine. Switzerland is already an intermediary in diplomatic and consular contacts between Russia and Georgia. Moscow and Tbilisi broke off bilateral relations after the war in 2008.